you very much. The next question will be directed at Commissioner Chandler first. Are you in favor of or against using capital dollars or reserves for operating expenses? If you are in favor of, what situations do you feel would justify it?
I'm not really in favor of using capital operating expenses, because when you use your operating expenses, they're gone. We have a lot of issues coming up in the future. Those reserves are put there for a reason, and we use them, they'll be gone. So we could complete some things we have in the future. Our maintenance issues coming up with more buildings. All of our buildings are in repair. We'll have to use our capital improvements for that. So I'm not in favor of using capital improvements for operating and balancing the budget.
I am definitely in favor of transferring funds from capital outlay into the general operating budget in times of crisis. Because if you don't do that, what's going to happen? You're going to have to make decisions, crisis management decisions. And when you do that, somebody is usually going to get hurt. And generally it's employees. And what I look at, you know, I can forego the guys mowing the yard, mowing the right-of-ways. When I want, and I need police protection, or when I want the fire department there, if my family needs them, I want a top-notch group of individuals to show up at my house to save my family's life. I can buy a new house, I can replace my car, I can't replace my family. So what happens is, if you have a situation where you're on the verge of having to lay employees off, absolutely, I believe you need to look where you have to in a crisis situation. That should only be temporary until you can get your budget back into condition where you balance out. Same as your house. Many of us would like to pay cash for homes. We can't do that. So we have to go out and borrow the money. We pay the money back in installments. We may have to do that. But if the alternative is losing employees or benefits, I think you absolutely have to look at that as an option. Thank you.
Well, probably the easiest way to answer that question is just read directly from the county fiscal policy. And it says, appropriations from a reserve for future construction and improvements may be made only by resolution of the board for the purpose or purposes of which the reserve was made. Therefore, money that I took from you and deposited in a reserve fund to fund that particular operation, according to your policy, your ordinance, a resolution, you cannot do that. So not only is it would violate your written ordinance, it also puts you into a situation to you using one-time monies. Those monies are not reoccurring. Operating funds are funds that are continually being reinstated as you go through a process, whether you're in a business, whether you're in a government. Taking monies one time from one-time use like that, monies that you have to pay back. So if I'm operating inefficiently and I'm operating outside my budget, it wouldn't be very fiscally prudent to go and borrow money over and above what I have the ability to repay. Again, first off, you'd be violating your resolution that it's already here, but second off, it wouldn't be a very good fiscal decision to start with.
Well, I agree with Joey on the ordinance aspect of it, but overall, from a standard business acumen, that is not something you normally do. You would never take capital dollars and put it back in your operating expenses. And all for the things that some of my colleagues have articulated, is that if you are a bad manager in dollars, then you're a bad manager. You can't take money from one account, put it back over in another account just because you're a bad manager. Those capital dollars were supposed to be used for capital improvements. That's where they need to stay. Standard business acumen is really focused of that definition. You cannot move dollars from general to operator or operating to capital and vice versa. So I would be opposed to moving capital dollars to the operating fund.
If there's a revenue shortfall, the responsible thing to do would be to look through the capital budget and find all the wants and blow them out. You know, I mean, not everything that we budget for is necessary. We can operating the county is necessary. Now, as far as dipping into the reserves go, I guess it's against the rules. But if it wasn't, you know, that's money that's put away for a rainy day and that shouldn't be messed with. Thank you.
When I left the commission 4 years ago, we had about $29 million in reserve. I understand today that we're somewhere around 4 or 5 million, I'm not sure, but the commission has a resolution now to build that reserve back to $8 million, which I agree. I think that you build that reserve for a reason and you use it for emergencies that could happen at any time. So if $8 million you feel like is enough, and over time you build that to 9 or 10 million, whatever it is, if you feel like 8 million is enough to take care of an emergency situation, then I wouldn't be opposed to taking part of it out and use it in the general